And I open up the door, and there are two guys standing there with guns in their hand. And one of them says, "Are you Brian O'Day?" And I said, "I wish I wasn't, but I am." Hey, I'm former marijuana smuggler Brian O'Day, and I'm chatting with Staxx.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Brian, former marijuana smuggler. What's
Hey, bro. You know, our crew is all California.
So when you're raking in that kind of money, it's like an insane amount. Like, what are your plans with the money? Are you like,
When you got 110 people working with you, everybody wants $1 million. Okay,
yeah,
there's only 250 million. The whole project has to be paid for. I mean, it's a lot of money. It sounds like a lot of money, but by the time it gets down to cutting up the jackpot, it's not a whole lot. You know,
yeah,
I ended up with um, property and vessels and what have you worth, I don't know, in the vicinity of 15 million or so, and all of that went uh, to the DEA.
Now, when you get busted, walk me through when you finally get busted.
Okay, so when I ended up with all the money and all that fucking shit was said and done, I hadn't done coke in a long time. I said, I'm going to get a little coke. So I went and bought a kilo of coke. and I took that kilo of into a friend's guest house, and I, over 8 days, drank and smoked myself into a corner as I snorted my brains out, and I had a heart attack day.
You got a heart attack?
I did. My friend, whose guest house I was in, found me, and he he called the paramedics and what have you, and I got revived, and I ended up. That was the eve of my 40th birthday. I got sober immediately. I went into a hospital in Santa Barbara. I spent a month there. Then I stuck around that hospital, became a volunteer there. I became the head of volunteers. Then I started doing groups there and conducting groups. And a couple of years into this, one morning, I'm lying in bed and a knock comes on my door. And I know who's at the door. I got no fucking doubt about it. And I open up the door, and there are two guys standing there with guns in their hand. And one of them says, "Are you Brian O'Day?" And I said, "I wish I wasn't, but I am." And they said, "May we come in?" I said, "You got the guns." And one of them said, "Do you have any guns in here?" And I said, "No, I don't." So the next thing you know, there were 8 cops in my house. I did not get indicted. I did not get arrested that day. They tore my house up. They went down and tore up my storage unit. And then they left. They said, "Get a lawyer." I said, I am going to call my lawyer. And they said, "Don't call your lawyer. We're going to arrest him. You got to get another one." I said, "You're going to arrest my lawyer?" They said, "Oh, yeah, we're going after him." Oh, so yeah, that was an interesting moment in my life. I had a lot of support from the AA community in Santa Barbara, however, and while I did get 10 years, I didn't cooperate. And normally, if you don't cooperate, they don't do anything for you, like do anything to help you get out quicker. Yeah. But the DA took a liking for me, and I think he liked the fact that I just decided to keep my mouth shut. And then over 100 people wrote the DA from Santa Barbara, who I'd been working with over the past couple of years. And I was a drug and alcohol counselor, and they were saying, "Are you fucking kidding?" And the DA, he couldn't give me any less time because I wouldn't cooperate. So I got 10 to 12 and a half. But I applied for transfer to Canada, which I knew I wasn't going to get because if you don't cooperate, they won't do that because they know you're going to get out early. But he recommended it. So I got transferred after a year to Canada. And then I did a year in Canada, which was 1/5 of my sentence. And then they put me out into a halfway house for 2 years.
Wow.
And then I was on parole for 6 and probation for 4.
You're a Canadian citizen,
That's
right?
right. Yeah.
So does that mean you can't go back to the US?
No, I can now. I couldn't for a while, but eventually I got a waiver.
No, Canada will take you back. Like if you leave, you could
Oh,
come back.
oh, of course. I'm a Canadian citizen. They got to let me back.
They won't let me in Canada.
No, you're an American.
I'm a felon.
Yeah, but you can get a waiver. Just like I got a waiver to go to the U.S., Americans can get a waiver to come to Canada if they have a felony.
Maybe I'll try to do that. I really liked Canada when I went there.
Oh, it's a great country.
Yeah.
And I live in a great part of Canada in Newfoundland. But I'm, spending as much time as I can in Ukraine. I just got back. I'm going back again in March.
Now, what was that like going to Ukraine?
Spectacular. Best thing I ever fucking did. I'm making a movie in Ukraine about the struggle of Ukrainian women during war. Yeah, it's just awesome. Awesome. It's just the greatest thing that I could ever have done.
It's pretty crazy what's going on there right now.
It is.
And how is it out there? Is it really bad?
It is terrible. Yeah, I spent a month just recently in a hospital that didn't exist 3 years ago, a place called Superhuman, and it is for people who have had amputations due to the war. There are 50,000 new amputations in Ukraine as a result of this war.
Oh.
And this hospital, Superhuman, is now one of the leading designers and makers of prosthetic devices in the world, of course. So my film tells the story of a number of the women that I met there who had their limbs blown off by the Russians.
What made you want to get into that? Like, what was your goal when you were in prison? What was your goal once you got out?
I didn't have a goal. I didn't know what I was going to do.
Just didn't think
Uh,
about it, right?
I didn't think about it. No, I had no idea what I was going to do when I got out of prison. I was going to write a book. I knew that because I wrote it when I was in prison, and I was going to fix it and get it published, which I did. And Random House published it. It won the best nonfiction crime writing in Canada in 2007. It's published all around the world. And I'm actually working with a French director right now who's probably going to make a movie of the book.
Turn your
Yeah.
life story into a movie.
Yeah.
What made you want to write a book and
In
get
prison,
into
I had a lot of time
prison?
on my hands. And I just thought, first of all, I wrote a newsletter to the people who supported me and telling them what was going on in prison. And at one point, one of them said to me, "Why don't you tell us some of the stories from your life that got you there? Because we've only known you since you got sober." So I started telling them stories about my life, and I wrote over 2,000 pages and realized I got a book here. So I took it and made it happen.
I'm sure they probably didn't believe some of it because it's so crazy. You're in a plane that crashes into the ocean.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you left out a big chunk of things that happened to you.
Yeah, well, there's, as I said, I wrote over 2,000 pages, and I had to get it down to 340 or something. I don't know what it is.
You got to make a series.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Whoever's going to do it's going to do it without me because I've had enough of that story. But I'll take the money.
It seems like a really interesting story. You should try to shop that to Hollywood.
Yeah.
So, how did Ukraine come into your life?
The war started, and somehow it took a grip on me. And I produced a television show a while ago with Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank. Actually, co-hosted and produced it. Kevin was the host, and I had a film a cameraman on that show who had a really interesting resume. He had documented the war crimes of Bosnia Herzegovina and Rwanda for the International Criminal Court on video. And oh my God, that was just like the heaviest of jobs, as you could imagine.
Yeah.
And so I said to him, Frank, what the fuck are you doing this reality show with me and with a resume like that? And he said, it's just too much. I couldn't do that anymore. So I got it. And when the war started, something grabbed me about the war. And I'm an old guy. I've seen a lot of wars in my life, and none ever grabbed me like this one. So I called Frank and was having a conversation with him, talking with him about it. And 15 minutes into the call, I said, Frank, I think we're going to have to go. He said, okay, I don't want to, but I will. So I called a friend of mine that owned a television network, and he gave me 30 grand.
Wow.
And I called a government funding agency in Newfoundland that develops film here, and they gave me 45 grand. And I went to Ukraine for a couple of months when the war started, and I came back with 40 hours of footage, but no movie. And so it took me a while to figure out what the movie was, and I've got it completely fucking worked out now. I went back to Ukraine and shot what I needed to develop the story that I need to run with the footage that I've already got. I got 70 hours of footage that I'm going to get an hour and a half movie out of, and it should be done in March.
Any crazy situations happened to you when you were in Ukraine? And what's it like to be in an active war zone?
Awesome. How can I say? It was a great camaraderie, everybody doing something together. It was extraordinary. Everybody helping everybody doing whatever they could. Just extraordinary. I went down at the front for a couple of weeks, took a truckload of supplies down to some military outposts, and it was just, it was amazing, man. It was just fucking amazing. I can't wait to go back.
Did you have any close calls where you thought, damn, this is pretty dangerous here?
Yeah, we were right at the front, and we nearly ended up behind Russian lines at one point. Fortunately, someone saved us. Um, and there was, uh, uh, for a few days, I wore my body armor all the time.
Oh, you had to walk around with bulletproof vests and things like that and a helmet.
Yeah, in the
Dude,
car, driving, wearing it.
oh man.
Yeah, because they fucking blow your car up.
I mean,
I had body armor on both doors. I was in the back. Body armor's on both doors and on me. And in the back behind me are 4 containers of petroleum because you can't get gas anywhere. So it's just like we're moving bombs, man, basically.
yeah, you can't smoke either, right?
Oh, the boy smoked. I didn't, but they did.
With gas in the back?
Yep. It was diesel, but still.
Yes, the flames still will catch. The fumes, right?
I guess. Anyway, it was great though. I'm so glad I did it, and I'm so glad that I'm a part of this whole thing with Ukraine.
So what's in store for the future for you?
For me,
Yeah.
I'm going to finish this movie. I'm going to sell it, and you'll never hear from me again.
Right
I'm
out into
going.
the sunset, right?
I'm going to a sunny place, and I'm going to stay there for the rest of my life. I'm old, There's not a lot of time in my life, and I don't like the winter. Right now, I'm in the middle of winter in Newfoundland and the North Atlantic, and I'm going to finish this movie and find a way to get out of the winter.
Well, I wish you nothing but success in the future, and
Thank you, Bill.
sending prayers to your kids. Hopefully, they stay out of that danger zone.
Thank you, brother.
Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to before we go?
Yeah, Frank in Cleveland. I'll just leave it at that. My beautiful friend, Frankie. Ciao.
If you like this show, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like the show, do bad. Start your own podcast.
Yeah.